We've all been taught that getting sick is just inevitable. You get older, things start to break down, and you manage it with a pill. But what if that's not actually true? Today I'm talking with Dr. Ann Hester, a physician double board certified in internal medicine and lifestyle medicine, about the 6 pillars that can prevent, treat, and even reverse chronic disease and hormone symptoms. No prescription required at all. Dr. Heister spent years treating advanced chronic disease before shifting her focus to prevent and empowerment. And she's the author of Patient Empowerment 101 and the host of the Vitality by Design podcast. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation and learn all about the 6 pillars that can help us prevent, treat, and reverse chronic disease. Ever wonder what the hell is happening with your hormones? I'm Kate Nagai, certified women's hormone health practitioner and cycle syncing strategist, and this is What the Hormones, where we decode PMS, perimenopause, burnout, and the chaos of midlife with real talk and real strategies. Whether you're here for hormone insights, expert conversations, or just need to know you're not alone in this, know that you're in the right place. So let's cut through that confusion and jump into this week's episode. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Ann Heister. I am so excited to have you here and that you found our little podcast.
Oh, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to dive into the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and how this can help women reset their hormones and to help
Yes.
them find balance. But before we dive into that, I know in your bio you mentioned something and it caught my awareness. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it before we dove in, which was
Mhm.
that you are double board certified, both in
Yes.
internal
Uh-huh.
medicine and lifestyle medicine. And I know for myself, and I'm sure many listeners out there have heard of internal medicine. We're kind of familiar
Mhm.
with that one, but I've never heard the lifestyle medicine. Is this something new? What is it?
Relatively speaking, you're right. Internal medicine, I mean, internists have been around for ages. And so I spent most of my life as a doctor prescribing medicine, diagnosing diseases, and taking care of people with the things that we had. But then I learned about lifestyle medicine. And I had this platform to educate people, and I hired a doctor to do a course. And she was the lifestyle medicine specialist. And as I sat and I recorded her course, my mouth just dropped. I was like, really? We have all this information on ways to prevent, treat, and reverse all these diseases? I was just floored. And over time, I wanted to be part of that because I spent most of my life, again, diagnosing and giving the pills. And the pills can be expensive, side effects. I mean, why deal with a disease that you don't have to? Lifestyle medicine is a relatively new field. It is sweeping the globe, and I'm so happy to hear that. It's available in like 75 countries now.
Yay.
And only a fraction of 1% of doctors in the world are actually board certified in this field, but it is picking up steam. And so, as opposed to healthcare, you get sick, this is the diagnosis, this is the pill. We focus on well care. How can we prevent you from getting the disease in the first place? I mean, the potential is unbelievable. For instance, something very simple, type 2 diabetes can frequently be put into remission if you have not had it for many years. But when I was in medical school, the thought of getting a person off of insulin and pills and halting the progression of the nerve damage and the kidney damage, that was like sci-fi. But there are studies that have shown that we can do that. I actually got a certificate in that program. But the American Medical Association put out a resolution to doctors years ago, 2017, saying you doctors need to learn lifestyle medicine and apply it because it's based on decades of data on ways to prevent, treat, and reverse disease.
Oh my God, that is so good to hear. Because, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I know for myself, so many of my experiences, I'm 45, but so many of my
Mhm.
experiences from childhood all the way up to menop or perimenopause, I felt with so many physicians of hitting these walls of just them not being able to offer me anything lifestyle wise to be
Mhm.
able to help support what I was feeling in my body, what I was noticing changing. And sometimes it felt really dismissive and just like, well, you don't have anything for that, or you just take this and see
Yeah.
what happens, right? And it always just, maybe because I'm just an information seeker, that I was just like, but there's got to be more.
Mhm.
Like, can you please just give me more?
You were
And
right. There is more, but you just didn't
yeah,
know about it.
yeah. And then, it goes on that. And I think so many women are burdened with this so that we then feel so dismissed that we spend hours researching what we've been diagnosed with, trying to find solutions. And that in itself can create such a cortisol load in the body because we're
Mm. Yes.
always trying to heal our body because we feel so unsupported. And so I am absolutely excited to hear that there is such a thing as lifestyle
There
medicine
is.
and that it is taking the planet over. So,
It is. I'm in another lifestyle medicine path right now. But lifestyle medicine to me is like it completely resets the way of thinking. But I do want to take a little aside and talk about something you said that women feel dismissed. I believe the World Economic Forum and the McKinsey Health Institute put out a report not more than 3 years ago about the gender gap, the world gender gap. And this is for health. So the health gap is phenomenal in that every year there are like trillions of minutes of quality life lost because we are women. This is not just a third world issue. It's in Canada, it's in America, it's in Germany, it's all over the world. And there are many things that play into that. Things as simple as we're not being taken seriously. So our diseases are diagnosed later than in men. So that is very real. And we cannot turn the tide on how women are perceived overnight, but there are things that we can do to protect ourselves and to be good advocates and to know what's going on with ourselves, with our bodies. And if the doctor that you're seeing is not in tune to where you are, try to find another one
mhm,
because every now and then, yeah, your mind may be playing games with you. You may be stressed, whatever the case may be. But by and large, if your body is telling you something, listen. And it may be that the first person doesn't get it, the second person doesn't get it. Maybe there's not a quick fix to it, but don't be dismissed because nobody knows your body better than you do.
mhm. Yes, thank you for saying that. That really
All right.
resonates with me. And right now in Canada, we are in a healthcare crisis. We have a lack of doctors that we need for the our population. And I think so many illnesses are on the rise, and especially with more and more women coming into perimenopause and menopause, there's a lot more women going, there's something wrong. I know there's something wrong. Can you help me
Yeah.
figure out what's wrong? And
Hmm.
this thing that you're talking about of lifestyle medicine, when I hear that, my first instinct is that this could be the solution. Like, can we start to proactively care for the human body, male or
Yes.
female, so that we can
Hmm.
prevent this kaleidoscope that's happening or this amplification of symptoms before it gets to the point where there is illness? Like, can we start to give resources and tools and teach, I don't want to say better, but better lifestyle um, techniques or ways of living so that way we can relieve the medical system of some of the pressure that we're putting it under.
Absolutely. And that's the goal to move from healthcare to this is the diagnosis, this is the pill, to well care. That you don't need the pill because you're less likely to get the diagnosis in the first place. That is the exact goal. And
Yeah.
that I think is why it's sweeping the globe because now we have data. It's not just a one-off study here or there. It is we have decades of research on ways that we can do
Mhm.
these things. Let me give you a great example. Women. You take a group of women, and this was actually a study. They took a group of women with breast cancer, and one group followed the pillars of lifestyle medicine, and the other did not. The women who followed lifestyle medicine were less likely to have a recurrence of their breast cancer. And if they were not at a point that they could be completely healed, they were likely to live longer and have a higher quality of life just because they followed the pillars of lifestyle medicine. They didn't have different chemotherapies, they did not have different surgeries. It was purely lifestyle. That is how powerful lifestyle medicine is.
That is so amazing. And I can see, well, I like to believe that a lot of doctors, because you go into this profession wanting to help society, you
Mhm.
want to help your communities, that it's easy for you guys to buy into this idea of like, this is a new way of thinking. And if it's going to work and it's going to help, then why not try it? I'm curious, are the schools as receptive of offering this approach?
They are starting to. I read recently that lifestyle medicine is being incorporated in some medical schools. But you made a good point that it would seem like doctors would jump on the bandwagon, but that has not been the case. One reason has been reimbursement.
Mm.
So I used to be a primary care doctor before I went into hospital medicine. There are times that I worked extremely hard. At the end of the 2 week period, I had to pay my malpractice, my overhead, my staff, all these things. I didn't have money for my own paycheck. And so when you look at what doctors are really dealing with rising costs of the employees, the healthcare coverage, malpractice, everything, the buildings, their overhead is going up, but their payments are not keeping up with that. So if you talk about introducing something as fabulous as lifestyle medicine is, yes, it can help prevent, treat, and reverse diseases. But if you spend 30 minutes counseling somebody on lifestyle medicine and the insurance company gives you $0 for that,
Yeah.
you have to temper your enthusiasm with the bottom line. These bills have to be paid. But
Mhm.
now I see that they are moving toward trying to reimburse physicians for the time spent educating people on lifestyle medicine. And so when that takes deeper hold and doctors realize I can help you and still be able to pay my bills, you're going to get a lot more doctors on board with this.
I'm curious how that would play out in Canada because ours is so much government funded. It's a little bit
Yes.
different in America. Um, but I'm curious if that's the same situation here, because regardless if it's government funded or not, the money has to come from somewhere. So
Mhm.
that's curious. Thank you for sharing that. So
You're
let's dive
welcome.
in to your
Yes.
whole methodology of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine that help women reset or help support their hormone
Okay.
conditions that they are struggling with.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to take one pill at a time.
Okay.
A whole food, plant predominant diet is huge. So when you eat a lot of processed foods, a lot of fatty foods, fried foods, all of those things, you're increasing the inflammation in your body. Inflammation, you have chronic inflammation that increases your risk of multiple diseases. When you have your diet is mainly whole food, plant predominant, then your gut microbiome, which we often call the second brain, is happy.
Hmm.
Almost everybody has heard of Prozac, Paxil, all of those drugs for anxiety and depression. Well, what they do is they keep the level of serotonin up. So they're SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And so by their mechanism, they let the serotonin levels be higher. But your body can make serotonin. It makes it 95% of the serotonin in your body is made in your gut. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a happy gut, then you're more likely to make the chemicals that are going to make you feel better, less stress, less depressed. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed, if I eat a double burger with French fries and a chocolate shake, I'm going to feel blah. for various reasons. But if I eat a kale salad with walnuts, balsamic vinaigrette, strawberries, things along those lines, after I eat, I don't feel full and bloated. I feel like, what's the next thing I can tackle? What we put in our bodies has a tremendous impact on what we think, how our brains work, how we sleep, all of those things. And so we like the plate method. So half of the plate should be non-starchy vegetables. You can have some fruits as well. A quarter of the plate can be a healthy meat, like a piece of salmon. And the other quarter is something like sweet potatoes, a vegetable that can be starchy. And you want nuts, seeds, herbs, and so forth. So if you think about the amount of calories that go into a double burger and fries, and the volume is like this in your stomach versus that same number of calories in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, the volume's like this, your stomach stretch receptors are going to be on fire when you're eating the fruits, vegetables, and grains that have all this fiber and bulk. It stretches your stretch receptors in the stomach and says, I'm full. I don't need to keep eating. Whereas when you eat the low residue foods, the junk foods, you can eat a ton of calories with a small volume, and the stretch receptors aren't phased. And they say, I'm still hungry, eat more. And so that would be one of the first things I would do, because you can literally change your body chemistry based on what you eat. And that definitely can impact your hormone status, that the junk food definitely plays a role.
Yeah, and I
And
can honestly say I noticed that huge in my own journey when I was
mhm,
healing myself from burnout in my 40s. Um,
uh-huh,
when I noticed I've always been really good at making a really healthy, balanced supper. Where
uh-huh,
I'd fall off the wagon would be breakfast because you're on the go. It's like I've got to eat quickly, and
hmm,
maybe I eat in my car, like all these things that aren't good for the body. And always the
yeah,
quick things, which is usually the sugary, grainy, like
hmm,
heavy in carbohydrates and usually in gluten, but not really supportive of the system. And so when I
hmm,
started swapping it to having like an omelet with sauteed vegetables, especially getting those
yes,
green leafy things in there
uh-huh,
and getting some onions and garlic, which our guts just love so much, right?
absolutely.
Starting
Mhm.
to layer in and having sauteed vegetables with my breakfast, it was like a game changer, and it was pretty quick that I started to notice shifts and changes in my mood, right?
Hmm.
Just even that alertness, that
Yeah.
awakeness in the morning, but also, like you said, that serotonin definitely started to shift in my body.
Hmm. Yeah. And something else, your insulin sensitivity and your sex hormone balance can be partially regulated by what you eat, because the saturated fats and the highly refined carbs, those things shift the balance in the wrong direction. But your insulin sensitivity, your sex hormone balance is shifted in the positive direction when you eat healthier.
Yeah, yeah. So everyone eat a really good balanced breakfast.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's the first pillar of lifestyle medicine, a whole food, plant predominant diet. Now we're going to go on to sleep. Sleep is huge. Sleep is something that we often take for granted because we're busy. We always have so much to do. The kids need something, the spouse needs something, the boss needs something. And we'll always seem like, I know at least in America, it's like we're on a hamster wheel, it just keeps going and going. And when you don't sleep well, you disrupt your cortisol. The cortisol is like the major stress hormone, and it is associated with inflammation that's associated with a lot of negative, ugly things. But when you don't sleep, things get off balance. You have a system called the glymphatic system. And when you sleep, it's like the cleanup crew. It just comes in and sweeps out the toxins around your brain. If you don't sleep, that crew goes on strike. And so you don't have the ability to have the natural cleansing mechanism of the body to clean out the area around your brain, just because you don't sleep. You're not getting your sleep. And so your cleanup crew is on vacation because you're neglecting sleep. Also, melatonin is impacted, by your sleep. So it's really important that we take that seriously. Sleep is another pillar. Restorative sleep, most adults need like 7 to 9 hours a night. And you get to physical activity. That is a huge pillar. That's the third pillar. And you don't need to run a marathon. Movement is medicine. So during the day, just get up, walk in place. Today I was working at the computer. I work at home now. I was working at the computer and I was running in place as I was typing. There's always something you can do. You can put a treadmill on the desk. You can use one of the lift-up desks, put your computer on top, get on the treadmill as you're in conferences, doing whatever you need to do during the day. By the end of the day, you could have gotten so much activity in at your desk that people who went to the gym for 30 minutes just could not compare. And so think out of the box. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to go places. You can get activity done at home. You can walk around the block. But we say about 150 minutes a week of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity or a combination. So moderate activity is like 3 miles an hour if you're walking. So you're walking with your friend. You can say a few things here and there, but you're not going to be able to sing. Um, but it's like a brisk walk. Vigorous activity is like jogging, tennis. You're not going to be able to carry on any kind of conversation. And so if you do that and you add resistance training 2 or 3 times a week, then you're meeting important guidelines. Stress is huge. They've done MRI studies on people under chronic stress. Chronic stress actually can shrink parts of the brain. So the prefrontal cortex, the brain CEO, after a person has been under stress for a long time, that repeat MRI can show that it's smaller. An important part of your brain actually shrinks. The hippocampus that deals with your memory is smaller, but the amygdala, that's your anxiety, center, you're stressed and you're anxious, that blossoms and gets bigger. And so you're more emotional. So chronic stress is not just a matter of, I'll get over it next week, I'll be okay. But chronic stress actually changes your brain. The good parts get smaller, the bad parts can get bigger. And so there are many things you can do to relieve stress. One is to sleep well. Another is to exercise. The thing about lifestyle medicine is not 1+1, all these equals 6. It's 1+1+1+1+1. It's like 500. It's like spaghetti. They work off of each other. So if you eat well, you have a healthy gut microbiome and your mood is going to be better. So that's going to help you sleep better. If you sleep better, then you release all those toxins and you're less stressed. If you're less stressed, you're not as likely to have your brain shrink. All of these things, they are so intimately connected. Also, with stress, the ovulation could get off, the thyroid function could get off. So your hormones, your female hormones, and your thyroid can be off just because of stress. And then toxins, endocrine disruptors. We don't really think about the fact that our skin, that's the largest organ of the body. If you're looking for a fragrance, try something natural. When you buy the fragrance lotions and so forth, you're basically letting all of these chemicals get sucked into your body. You put it on all over you. You do your hair, you shampoo your hair with this nice, fresh smelling shampoo. All of these chemicals that are made in a laboratory, your body does not need those. Something that is very simple for me, I use it for so many things. I get a little jar of organic coconut oil. You can cook with it. I don't because it has too much saturated fat, but it definitely adds flavor. You can cook with it in moderation. You can rub it on your hair and it helps your hair shine. You can use it as a lotion and it moisturizes your skin. And sometimes I put it on my face as my nighttime moisturizer. 100% organic, natural. Endocrine disruptors are in like the phthalate. We're talking about phthalates, BPA, your cosmetics, your lipstick, You can buy organic lipstick. Your moisturizers, your makeup, all of those things can have endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors can look to your body like the real hormones, and they can block the ability of the real hormones to bind where they need to bind. And so you want to get rid of endocrine disruptors as much as you can. The plastic bottles, trash them. If you're going to walk, use stainless steel. The things
I
you use
think
in your home. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one thing that people often forget or they overlook is plastic utensils, like cooking utensils. Once those start to bubble up, if you've been using them, as soon as
Absolutely.
that plastic barrier is broken, it is leaching plastic into your food. That is like
Mhm.
a huge one. And one that I'm very adamant in our house is like, we need to get these utensils out. And so I've cleaned our house and now it's like
Uh-huh.
working on my mom's house. I'm like, we got to get these things out. But I think for so many of us, it's like, oh, it's still good. It's still functional. It's like, no, it's not. And you really shouldn't be using it.
Mm-mm. You know something I found the other day? Um, I'm not doing an ad for this thing, but dental floss. I was thinking, all this plastic. I floss my teeth, and I went online and I found cornstarch bamboo charcoal dental floss picks. I mean, there's a substitute for everything. I
Yup.
mean, super simple. Um, and it's all natural, but we use plastic so much we don't even think
We don't.
about the microplastics that we're releasing into our bodies.
Or what's coming in through our water as well. We
Yeah.
forget how many microplastics are in the water. My biggest one, and I just had this conversation with my husband this weekend because he
Hmm.
bought new dishwasher soap, but it's in the plastic little sachets that you put in there and then they heat up and the plastic melts. And for me to explain to him, like, no, I get that that's all you can find at the grocery store, but that's
Yeah.
putting plastic all over our plates and our utensils. And like, you can't see it, but it's there. So
Yeah.
nothing gets
Unfortunately,
me
it
like
is.
how much our society's become so reliant on plasticking everything and thinking that it's
Yeah.
okay because it's really not.
I agree. I can't agree more. And we're not going to be able to get rid of all of it, but if you can decrease your plastic load 60%, that's huge. So
Mhm.
those plastic containers you have for storage, just get rid of them. Buy the glass. You can put the glass in the freezer, and I don't like microwaves that much, but the microwave, the oven, the dishwasher, I mean, this is really an all-purpose storage container. You can use those instead of the plastic. So just throw them out. Instead of water bottles, get yourself a I mean, I use like glass water bottles, but if I'm going out, then I have my stainless steel. Just
Mhm.
go through your house, figure out what you can do differently, and you'll be surprised how much you can do differently. You're not going to get rid of all of it. The goal is progress, not perfection.
I like that. Before we keep going, I want to say this. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, okay, I get it, but I need help figuring out what my body specifically needs, I hear you. That's exactly why I offer a free hormone clarity call. It's a no pressure conversation where we talk about what you're experiencing, what's not working for you, and whether my hormone reset coaching is the right fit for you. This is personalized one-on-one support using my hormone rest method, designed to take you from burnt out and reactive to balanced and feeling like yourself again. If you're ready to stop guessing and start getting real support, head to sherevival.com/hormone coaching and book your free call. Link is in the show notes. All right, let's get back to it. I like that.
And I do want to talk a little bit more as far as lifestyle medicine. I haven't gone through all the pillars yet, but we talked about how they interplay, they work with each other. So we talked about, for instance, the whole food plant-based diet. If you're doing that, you're more likely to lose weight. And body composition, fat, particularly visceral fat, is like its own organ and it's churning out this estrogen. And so whenever we have excess weight, it's like we have another organ in the body that is churning out excess estrogen. which is associated with breast cancer, mood swings, breast tenderness, all sorts of things. And so that is something that I really want to hit on, that visceral fat, we think of it more from an internal medicine standpoint as the propensity to cause significant cardiovascular disease. But there are other things to consider. Breast cancer is not insignificant by any stretch of the imagination. And so the choices that we make each day, something as simple as exercising, which can help keep the weight down, can help decrease your breast cancer risk. It just keeps going. It's like the gift that keeps going.
Hmm.
So we've talked about the diet, we've talked about stress, um, exercise, sleep, toxins. Okay, connections. You know,
Mm.
we don't often stop to think that the connections we have, the love connections, can actually help us live longer. A lot of people have read the studies that if you have a spouse, you live longer than if you don't. If you don't have a spouse and you have a dog, you live longer than if you don't. But literally, there is a love hormone called oxytocin. And when you get the hugs, you have that love sensation and you're loving on people, laughing with your friends and so forth. Your body releases this oxytocin. It counteracts cortisol, which is the inflammation hormone that's linked to many diseases. And so, yet again, all of these things are just working together. And so relaxation is great for your cortisol, sleep is great for all of that. Sleep, something else that I didn't mention is your hunger hormones. When you don't sleep, the two major hunger hormones, ghrelin, like my stomach is growling, ghrelin versus leptin. I'm full, I don't need anything. Those get off balance when you don't sleep also. And so it just keeps going and going. These six pillars, the whole food plant predominant diet, meaningful movement, good social connections, toxin avoidance, stress management, and restorative sleep, those things add up exponentially to decrease your risk of many diseases, to decrease your risk of hormone related symptoms.
Hmm.
And it's free, absolutely free.
Hmm. I just want to touch on something that you mentioned with the connection. I'm so glad that that is one of the six pillars because I don't remember where I just heard this, and I heard it just recently that for a long time we thought that blue zone communities, the reason why they have success with longevity and they live longer lives and they're healthier people is because of diet. But what they're actually discovering now in recent science is that, diet does play a role, but what really is the
Mhm.
catalyst is community. And community
Yeah.
is that connection pillar. It's because these blue zone communities that have this longevity, that have these long lives, they are surrounded by support and around relationships and deep relationships. And so I think that is something so important that in our many of our Western world communities, we could
Mhm.
really learn from. Because I know where I live, you just go to work, you come home, you take care of the kids. Like the connections that you have are when you're taking your kids to their sporting event and you're talking to
Mhm.
another parent in the stands, but then it's like the hustle to get home. Like it's not true connection, it's not true community. And for so many of us, we live away from our families. We move to the bigger city or we move to a different province or state for job opportunities. And so that community, it totally shifts. And I think that's a huge piece that we're lacking in our modern society.
Absolutely. Chronic loneliness is like smoking 14 cigarettes a day.
Hmm.
So most of us would never smoke that much because we know what it can do. Chronic loneliness does the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, everybody, community support. Find your people, hug them, laugh with them. And I know, like, from a lot of the work that I do, which is around the nervous system, is that female nervous systems, we respond to oxytocin. That's what helps us recalibrate, to rebalance. And so, it is essential for women physiology or female physiology to be able to have these experiences where we're releasing more and more oxytocin for our hormone health. So, yay,
Love matters.
it does. And I think as women, we carry so much responsibility. We do so many things that we
Yeah.
really do need people to either support us or even
Mhm.
just to cheer us on. It can be a really lonely journey when you feel like you're doing it all on your own.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we need our cheerleaders. So that is great. I love these six pillars because they really do make sense. And they really are the essence of a well balanced lifestyle. And they're not hard, they're not
Mhm.
complicated things. It's shifting our eating habits, it's really starting to monitor our sleep, which I think so many of us struggle with. I know, like for myself, a mom of three kids, you get everyone to bed. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And then it's like, well, I'm owed this time to decompress now. But we
Mhm.
have never been taught that actually our melatonin peaks at 10 o'clock. And if we push past that, we actually are
Mhm.
doing ourselves a big disservice. And, I just experienced this last night because it was one of those days where it was rush, rush, rush nonstop. And then by the time I actually got to relax, I felt like I needed more time. And so then even though I was exhausted, I pushed myself past that 10 a.m., but then I couldn't fall asleep,
Mhm.
right? Like I pushed myself too far. And I think we're so
Mhm.
used to overriding that and then wondering, like, why do I have insomnia? It's 11 o'clock at night. Why can't I fall asleep? And it's because we've missed our prime window where our body was like, can
Yeah,
we just go to bed?
I understand. I have a German Shepherd whom I love dearly, and he sometimes gets up at 3:30 in the morning to potty.
Yeah.
And, so I may go to bed at 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 o'clock, but if I have to get up at 3:30 or 4 to let the dog out on the other side of the house, that builds up. So certainly there's so many things that get in the way of our restful sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as women, we look at these six pillars and we look at how we can apply them so that way we can create hormone balance or start to heal some of these imbalances in our body or these conditions that we have. But when we start to model this behavior, when we start to do it ourselves, we really are the mirror for those in our lives to see the
Absolutely.
importance of
Yeah.
it. I have three young children and I got
Mhm.
into this work because I needed to heal me, but in doing so, to see the ripple effects and to see how my kids now think and process information. Like even my daughter, she just had her birthday and I offered for her to have a sleepover and she was like, "No, mom, I'm really tired. It's been a long week. I just want to be in bed by 9 o'clock." And I was like, "Sounds perfect. Let's not have a sleepover then." But like
Wonderful.
she knew her limitations and she was like, rather than being like to push it, she was like, "No, you know what? I'm just okay with my birthday party being my birthday party and everyone leave by 8:30." And I was like, "I love you." So- but we really do show that these things are important versus when
Absolutely.
we push our own limits and then we don't understand why we feel so crappy or why we're irritable.
Hmm.
And we keep doing rinsing and repeating the same behaviors and with the same results of not feeling good in our bodies. It, our kids learn the same thing of just like, well, I'm broken. I don't know what's wrong with me, right? And we really instill these practices that keep us in a state of not being well.
Absolutely. So much is induced by our choices. A lot of people are of the mindset, my mom had diabetes, or my dad had this, and my aunt has this. I'm going to get it. Think of a straw and just take a magic marker and just put a few dots along the straw, just 10, 15 dots. The bulk of that straw is the straw. You have dots that represent your genes. And so if the DNA is the straw and the dots represent the individual genes, yes, you may have this gene that predisposes you to this condition. But most of your DNA is what we call the epigenome, not the genes. And so the base that they're on, we can twist it this way or that way. We can increase the likelihood that those genes are expressed or suppressed. I mean, cancer fighting genes. I mean, all sorts of genes. They've done studies and they've shown that genes are turned on or off based on our lifestyle choices. In America, 80% of the visits to the doctor are due to lifestyle related conditions. And
Mhm.
so when they did those studies and they found that lifestyle medicine is the powerful way to prevent, treat, and reverse many lifestyle-related diseases, is because we're making the wrong choices. And
Mhm.
so when we understand what we're doing and we turn it around, then our health turns around. And you mentioned it's different in Canada. If people in mass understood those six pillars and they were able to stick to them, whether it's, through courses, whatever, with their families, just like you said, the reinforcement, coaching, anything. If people in mass adopted those six pillars, it wouldn't be so much a doctor telling you these things. I've told you the six pillars. The issue is how deep we're getting into them and how do we reinforce these six pillars. And so if you take a very deep dive into learning a lot more about these six pillars, you can do a lot of it on your own without your doctor. Your doctor can certainly focus on you have an acute illness, you have this, needs to be addressed. But you can adopt the six pillars today. And I love to tell people to start with SMART goals. You cannot eat a huge elephant at once. Just do a little bit at a time. SMART, S is specific, immeasurable, achievable, R relevant, T time bound. So if you say, I want to have more vegetables, specifically, I want to have green vegetables. Um, Measurable, I want to have 3 servings of green vegetables every week. A, achievable, the store is down the street. R, relevant, it's very relevant to my longevity. T, time bound, try it for 1 week and see how it goes. If you do SMART goals and every week or 2 weeks, you create another SMART goal for yourself, 6 months from now, you'll be a completely different person. So
Mhm.
stack these things. You do them one at a time. You master this, and that becomes second nature. And then you pick your next SMART goal and your next one. And over time, you won't recognize your life because it will have transformed from one that is prone to disease to one that's prone to living so long you run out of money.
I do have a question for you, and I'm sure people listening to this might be thinking the same thing, is that a lot of what you're saying really does make sense for preventing disease,
Mhm.
for that preventative measure. In your experience of doing these six pillars, of applying lifestyle medicine, how often do we see the reversal of these acute conditions? Like you mentioned, diabetes. Like, is there
Mhm.
a significant percentage or,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So diabetes, I don't have the exact statistics, but people, now there's a difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. A type 1 diabetic is going to need insulin. Most people are type 2. And if you've only had diabetes for a few years, then you have a high chance of turning it around to the point that at the very least, your doctor cuts back your medicine. And in the ideal scenario, over time, you've got to work very closely with your doctor, but over time, your doctor may take you off of some, if not all of them. But when you're relatively new with diabetes, your body's only had it for a few years, you're at the prime place where things can be shifted back. Let me give you something that's super simple. Beans, dried beans. When you eat dried beans, your body, your gut turns them into one of the byproducts is called butyrate. Butyrate lowers your blood sugar aside from insulin. And so when you eat dried beans regularly, you are producing something that's not as strong as insulin, but it's a natural way to lower your blood sugar. When you exercise, channels open up to pull the sugar from the bloodstream inside the cell, and they're not related to insulin at all. That is another thing that bypasses insulin to lower your blood sugar. Those are just a couple of things. So I mentioned the situation with the breast cancer, but there's another one that is profound. I believe it was Dr. Dean Ornish did this study. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America, probably Canada, and certainly most
Yeah.
nations. So they found that they did cardiac catheterizations where they insert dye. They insert the needle and go up through the blood vessel, and they insert dye into the heart to see the degree of blockage. So they found that if they start day one, I don't know the exact number of people, but let's say 100 people, and they took 50 and they gave them the standard of care, the aspirin, the statins, and all of these things, and nothing else changed with their diet. The other group, the other 50, they were intensely following lifestyle medicine. And then they went back years later. You expect the natural progression of things like arthritis and so forth. When you get older, it gets worse. But in this situation, they did a cardiac catheterization, and the people who followed lifestyle medicine and they were serious about it, they had less blockage of the arteries than they did when they first started.
It's amazing.
Those who followed the standard of care, the medicine and so forth completely, and did not follow those pillars, they had more blockage. So the natural progression of disease is as more time goes by, it gets worse. But when they followed lifestyle medicine, they were able to turn around part of the blockage that is the leading cause of death. So, yes,
Hmm.
after a disease is established, there is definitely the possibility, strong possibility, that you can turn things around, if not completely, if you live 5 years longer. That's a victory. That's huge.
Hmm. Or even just living a better
The
quality of
quality,
life. That is
the
huge as well.
quality of life. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, this has been an amazing conversation, and I have loved your perspective. I love this idea of lifestyle medicine and that it is taking shape in our medical
Yeah.
communities now. It really does give me a lot of hope from somebody who's just experienced a lot of negative experiences with physicians and with my medical care and with disease in my own body, from fertility challenges to perimenopause, to eczema and constipation as a child, like all of these things that were just like you got to live with it. It really brings me hope to know that the principles and the pillars that I put in to establish health and wellness in my body
Mhm.
and seeing the reversal, that this is actually a thing and that it is now being taught and it is now being experienced by the masses. So I want to thank you so much, Anna. Anne, sorry, this has been an amazing conversation. And I really do love everything that you shared. If people are looking to learn more from you, if they want to learn about lifestyle medicine and these pillars in more depth, how can they work with you?
Well, my website is called ptrreset.com. I keep talking about prevent, treat, and reverse. So uh, I got the trademark on PTR Reset because I believe in the significance of these things: prevent, treat, reverse. That mindset, it needs to shift from I'm going to get sick anyway, I'm going to get these pills, I'm going to die early. That needs to shift to I have power. I am going to take my power to prevent, treat, and reverse as many diseases as possible to improve the quality of my life. So ptrreset.com. You can contact me through there, fill out a contact form. I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Ann Hester. I just recently launched a variety of lifestyle medicine AI coaching apps through the Studio platform. That's studio.com. And you go to the health section and you scroll, and I think I probably have about 6 apps, AI coaching apps that have like my audios, videos, plus 24/7 coaching. So it's phenomenal. So it's like having a doc in your pocket. So that's how you can reach out to me.
And then you also have a book, am I correct?
Yes. I almost forgot about that one. Patient Empowerment 101, More Than a Book is an Adventure. It is on Amazon, and basically it is a real life way of becoming the center of your healthcare team. It teaches you how to think like we think. It's really not that hard. So it's a matter of, if you go into a doctor's office, don't wait till you are on a cold examining room table to think through everything. I teach you how to think through things when you first have a twinge of pain, when you first have symptom A, B, C, D, or E. There are generalities that we use for all of them and some specific things. I delve into glossary terms, things so you can actually talk to the doctor and the doctor will be like, where did she come from? I actually had one person I told these things, no medical background. I showed her how to prepare for a visit, how to talk to doctors. And she went to the ER a couple of weeks later. She was diagnosed and treated and discharged. But the doctor asked her, after she finished, he said, "Are you in the medical field? I've never had anybody talk to me that way." No medical training at all. She just needed to know the basic concepts. And so it's all about empowerment. You have the ability to completely turn around your health trajectory. And so that's what I love to do. I love to empower people to be the center of the healthcare team and to live as long and as strong as possible.
I love that. So for anyone listening, all of these links will be in the show notes below so that you can explore them. You can find out more about her books, her courses, her resources. Dr. Ann Hester, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, and thank you for really making me feel empowered in my health journey here today. So I really appreciate the conversation.
And I certainly appreciate being on your show. It was really an honor.
If you're sitting here thinking, okay, but which hormone is actually causing my chaos? I've got you. Head to the show notes and grab my free quiz, What Hormone is Running the Show? It's your first step to understanding where your body might need some extra support. And honestly, it's kind of eye-opening. Link is in the show notes. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Until next time, remember, you deserve to feel good in your body, and together we will figure it out.